Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Chrisan, and today we're going to be talking about the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. Now, my biggest takeaway from this that you can instantly apply in your life now is that thinking big, having goals in mind, understanding what you want to accomplish in itself is a habit. How many people know someone who's been incredibly talented, really intelligent, but whenever it comes to applying themselves, they just simply don't. And their excuse is just that, I can't focus or I just don't want to. So this book talks about that exact scenario being known as something called excuse-itis, meaning that you have a disease of excuse. If you constantly attach excuses and reasons as to why, rather than just knocking it on the chin and being like, that's just me, I need to move forward, my circumstances don't represent who I am, I need to overcome them, right? And that's what I notice a lot of other people have in their life as well. In fact, it's pretty common for a lot of people to be acting that way. Now, the reason why it happens from a root level is that people don't like the idea of failure. Failure isn't something that they love. It adds more stress. If anything, most people want to stay away from fear, failure, and all those types of things, which is understandable. The Magic of Thinking Big talks about embracing one's failures, using them as an opportunities to learn, and moving forward. In fact, it talks about how no one actually ever loses. Even when you lose, you want to turn your losses into learning. Therefore, you're always winning. You're always developing. You're always becoming a better person. It also talks about the reason why a lot of people have a sort of, a struggle or a lack of achievement is because their brain is basically programmed that they are programming their thoughts, they're programming their reality. If you as a person, right, understand that you need to take control of your reality by the thoughts that you're thinking about. If you truly believe, and I mean like it's almost as if you're deserving of a certain type of thing, certain type of circumstance, certain object, certain just way of life, your brain will actively look at ways in order to create that as a reality for you. I think that if you constantly think about money, you will attract more money in your life. And that the same thing goes for anything negative as well. It talks about how a combination of your environment, your thoughts will shape your reality and shapes exactly how you are living. It talks about the importance of making sure that you choose what's going on into your mind. How you can actually personally choose. It is tough. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong. It is a hard thing to actually do for yourself. But if you can master it, then you've mastered the magic of thinking big and how you basically choose the thoughts that you are thinking about. You as a person that have control of your conscious thought, which can affect your subconscious thoughts, which will then affect your reality. And it just talks about never thinking small. Like so many people who have so much untapped potential. Always limit themselves based on their belief of what they think that they're deserving of, their circumstances, where they're at, rather than embracing them, understanding that they are in control of their own future and they can actually put themselves in a position in order to succeed. How many people sort of have fears? Like a lot of people have fears of public speaking. Okay? A lot of people have fears of public speaking. It talks about how whenever you comes across doing anything new, you're always going to have a fear attached to it. And a lot of people associate fear with failure. Therefore, they do whatever they possibly can to avoid it. Like, absolutely. A really great example of this is that part of the Navy SEALs training is to jump off of a diving board. That's just what happens. Now, when the Navy SEALs in training spoke about it, they said all of their fear was building on the come up. When they were climbing up the ladder, they were like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this. I can't imagine doing this. Now, when they were faced with the option to jump or not, their instructor would straight up kick them off. And once they landed, they realized it wasn't actually as bad. Now, the takeaway from that example is that action cures fear. Action cures fear. If you're scared of a test coming up, practice. Okay, put yourself as close to the environment as you possibly can. If you're scared of jumping off a diving board, jump off more diving boards, right? The fear associated with new events goes away once you've experienced enough of it. And that's the same thing with now. If you're scared of public speaking, you're going to have to public speak more. Once you overcome that, action cures the fear and you can start moving on towards bigger and better things. You're not going to be restricted by the things that are holding you back, which, by the way, is always going to be your mind. Your mind is always the thing that's holding you back. So you need to make sure that you are in control of your thoughts. Whatever you think about, whatever you visualize, whatever you want most in life, if it is truly important to you and constantly on your brain, I promise you that if you look at any other successful person, you'll see that duplicated with them as well, and you can duplicate it within your life too. Have it on your mind, it will be achieved. If you look at any successful person, I guarantee when they were coming up, especially if it's any of those types of success stories where they were sort of like the elite of the elite. In their level, it was they were always obsession. Drake, for example, Drake. Every single conversation he has, you can see it in interviews. If an interviewer says something or he says something, he's like, that's a line. That's a line. He's constantly on thought of making songs. If you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was always talking about how his room growing up was filled with everything that he was idolizing about, physiques and stuff like that he was looking towards achieving. And if you can duplicate some of those things, even just a small amount in your life, just a tiny bit, I guarantee you that you'll instantly start to make a change. And he talks about anchoring your environment is another part of the book. Basically, a lot of people don't understand this, but what you're most in control with is not the response towards stimulation, but the stimulation itself. To break that down a little bit further, if you're living with a bunch of people who are on drugs, you are more likely going to do drugs. Your response towards drugs isn't actually in your control for the most chance. About 80% of the time, a little bit more than that, I think it's about 84%. You will actually be more in control. You won't have control of your response. A lot of people think you do, but you don't. For example, a personal story is me. Trying to be healthy recently, all right? If there is ice cream in my freezer, my reaction and response to that is to eat that late at night. I don't have a choice. That's just what I do. I eat that late at night. I'm going throughout the whole day being healthy. I don't do anything wrong. It gets 3 a.m. at night. Something comes over me and I just eat that ice cream. Now, a lot of people would think that they have the response to that, but what I truly have response to that is my environment. Putting myself in an environment where the ice cream is actually never there. I can not choose not to buy that at a shop far easier than I can choose not to eat it at 3 a.m. in the morning when I'm incredibly hungry. Now, if you can understand that concept and start implementing it, that means that you can also have the reverse. Okay? If you want to attract success, you want to put success around you. If you're constantly being distracted by entertainment, but take away all your entertainment and only have books to read around you, the chances are in a week, month, maybe even a year time of being stuck in that environment, you would have read every single success book that you have around you. Right? By anchoring your environment, by putting things situated, not only objects and materials, but also the correct people, you increase your chances of becoming more successful. I think that if you want to be, a professional basketball player, you should have your majority of your friends are probably basketball players. If you are pursuing a musical career, the chances are the majority of your friends are probably musical career. You want have musical careers also. You want to surround yourself with the people who have what you're looking for. And I understand that's tough, especially if you're starting from scratch. If you have no friends to get there, then obviously you're going to have to develop skills along the way. But it's all about a learning process. The other thing that it talks about, I already hit on it a little bit earlier, is excuse-itis. Now, a lot of people, how many people have met middle-aged people who would just blame their kids on the reasons for their lack of finances or being in a financially tough situation? That's terrible. The truth is that it's really up to your choices, your resourcefulness, what you value more. Mark Zuckerberg, he created Facebook at 20 years old, so the framework for Facebook at 20 years old. One of the most successful social media platforms, if not the biggest social media platform in the world today. Right, at 20 years old, Ray Kroc was 52. He had diabetes and arthritis, and he went on expanding the McDonald's brand on this day and age. It's one of the biggest real estate providers in the entire world. The reality of the situation is that the only real excuse is yourself. Now, once you put that aside, right, and once you realize that you do have the opportunity to be in control of yourself where you are at, and you yourself are the only person responsible, and understand that. If you don't think big of yourself, how can someone else? If you don't think that your company is worth it, if you don't think your business is worth it, if you don't think that you're worth being someone in a relationship, how can you expect anybody else to take a risk on you, right? You can't, right? So the truth is that you have to first have the image in your mind that you're deserving of the things that you want. But that doesn't mean that the excuses that you put on yourself or the situations are valid. Take away the excuses. Understand that the only person at fault is yourself. Once you realize that you were the only person who's responsible for where you're at, then you can start to understand that you're also the only person who's responsible for your success. Once you've taken that away, all of the excuses, all you're left with is the potential and opportunity to start moving in towards the directions of the success that you believe you deserve. And it's important that you need to think big. The next part that it talks about is that always aim for a little bit higher than where you're at, okay? Gravity is always going to affect the arrow, just like gravity is always going to affect your goals. So you want to have a little bit higher than what you're expecting, so hopefully no matter what, you'll always land on top. So to summarize, the magic of thinking big, it always talks about having a big dream, having a big image of what it is that you want to accomplish. If you can start to be able to do that, that is the first step. Well, we'll be making a lot more of these videos ahead for Quick Notes with Croissant to help improve yourself and put you in a better situation to succeed. I highly suggest you like, comment, subscribe, stick to the channel, and I look forward to presenting a few more books, especially over the coming hours and coming days that are coming up. And anyways, guys, I wish you all the best on your success. All right? This was Chris with Quick Notes with Chris on the magic of thinking big. I'll see you next time. I'm outie.